I went to OHSU for medical school, and I also was born and raised in Portland. So my family's here, my friends are here, my life are here, and so I knew I wanted to stay in Portland if possible. And then my husband and I went to the pre-interview happy hour downtown together before my OHSU interview, and when we left, he actually said, "Oh, great, you found your people." And I agreed because the other residents, I think I just instantly connected with their vibe, their energy, their passion for psychiatry. And so once I knew I would have a team I really loved in a city I love, it was a no-brainer to choose OHSU.
There's a lot that makes this city unique that attracted me to coming here. Of course, there's a very strong presence for advocacy and support for LGBTQ+ population. In my personal life, I really value being in the outdoors, having a connection with nature. And in Portland, you're surrounded with nature at all times.
One of the best pieces of advice I got about interviewing and thinking about new residents at OHSU was one of the chief residents when I was an intern asked, "Is this someone who I would be comfortable calling with a question or for backup in the middle of the night? And is this someone who, if they called me for backup in the middle of the night, I would be happy to help?" I can honestly say that that is true of every single resident in this program, that I would be comfortable calling them, and I have called many of them at all hours of the day or night for questions. And when I receive calls from them, I know it's because they really need help.
These are the people that you're working with day in and day out for 4 years. So it's really important that you feel supported, you feel like there is maybe like a shared personality. And for us, I think that personality is one of warmth, openness, playfulness.
I also think they're really great people and we like to have fun together. There's a bunch of moms of young children who have play dates. There's a bunch of people who love the outdoors and backpacking. So we have fun together and we also trust each other, which is important when you work together as much as we do.
I live in Southeast Portland. I love where I live. My community is awesome. I can walk down the street, go on a run, and learn something new about my community or see something exciting that's pinned against a signpost.
So I live in the suburbs of Northwest Portland, which I love because there's close access to the beach, to plenty of hiking and parks, and we also can have a house with a little more space and a yard. From my house, it's 20 minutes to get to pretty much every clinical site we rotate at, 60 minutes to get to the coast, less than an hour to get to the gorge, and then 2.5 hours to be skiing on Mount Hood. So can't ask for a better location. Plus I have a yard.
The energy there is very like Portlandia. There's kind of some stereotype about Southeast Portland that everyone's got a chicken coop and you like to brew your own kombucha. And sure, like that's all fun and tongue-in-cheek. I think the overarching vibe of Southeast is more of openness, more of interest in what's happening politically and what's happening socially, and I really, really like that and admire that.
So I grew up in Portland, so maybe I'm biased. I think it's a great place to grow up. But in all honesty, my husband and I chose to stay here and raise our children here for a couple of reasons. One is the access to the outdoors. You can have your kids hiking, biking, camping outside starting when they're 6 months old if you want to. The schools really vary both in terms of diversity and quality, but there are good private and public options depending on which way you want to go. So I think one of the draws of Portland is it's actually a more affordable place to raise a small family when compared to other West Coast cities. So for example, compared to Seattle and San Francisco, the cost of living is lower, the cost of childcare is lower, and the cost of things like preschool and early childhood education are also a lot lower. So it is possible to raise children on a residence budget here, and I don't know if that's true for other West Coast cities. So I have been really lucky to find fantastic mentors at OHSU, and I've been surprised at how accessible all of the faculty and really most of the psychiatry community in Oregon is. I have a strong interest in ECT and interventional psychiatry, And I've been working with doctors at OHSU to make sure I have an experience in that, even though there's not a lot of folks who do that in the state of Oregon, really.
We have a really good psychotherapy experience that I think a lot of it is contingent on how motivated you are individually to seek out opportunities. The opportunities are there for you at the VA and at OHSU, and you start getting exposed to what psychotherapy is about. As a first year, you'll be on the inpatient unit, you'll probably send some patients to group therapy, and you'll have experience in an adjacent way, and then you'll start to get into your second year, and you will be having a little bit of outpatient experience where you can have a therapy patient, you'll have supervision for that. We also have a number of different experiences you can get involved in. We have a relationship with the Oregon Psychoanalytic Center, which they offer coursework at a discount. I've done that. A number of other residents have done it too. And I feel like coming out of residency, I'm prepared to provide good therapy. Like I have a good foundation for therapy.
So I think this is an area in terms of exposure to child and adolescent psychiatry where our program has adapted to resident needs and requests. So prior to us entering the program, there wasn't a lot of child and adolescent psychiatry exposure until third year, which made it really hard for people to decide in time whether they wanted to fast track to that fellowship. But when we were first years, the chief residents worked with the administration to build some child and adolescent experience into our second year curriculums. So now all second years get really rigorous exposure to children and adolescents who are inpatient at Dornbecker. For me personally, that helped me decide that I wasn't interested in child psychiatry, but there were 2 residents in our class who fell in love with child psychiatry and ended up fast tracking.
We get to have an elective in a community rotation starting our third year. I chose to do mine at Portland State University's Student Health and Counseling Center. And I was really interested in college mental health. And I spent a full day there. It was supremely valuable. I got a lot of supervision from my psychotherapy. I got my therapy sessions videotaped and reviewed. I got to participate in a multidisciplinary team with therapists that are at the peak of their game. They've been doing this a long time, so learning from them was awesome. And the same goes for your fourth year. In my fourth year, it just goes to show how flexible you can be. I chose to do a psychedelic medicine elective, working with one of our newly recruited faculty at the VA who has experience in research studies on MDMA and psilocybin. And that's not something that that's kind of a controversial topic at a lot of places, but I felt supported to be able to pursue that academic interest and that research interest and incorporate it as an elective. It's not something that existed before. So I think this is a great example of how you can use your personal values and your priorities to tailor your curriculum and to tailor your residency experience.